Thanks for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Mark Martin. Today, as expected, former President Donald Trump winning a blowout victory in the Iowa caucuses by a historic margin. We're going to bring you the reaction from the candidates in the Hawkeye State, including who dropped out. But first, the future of Israel depends on the outcome of this war. That's the word from Israel's defense minister as they keep up their war against Hamas terrorism in Gaza and the fight against Hezbollah in the north. A megachurch pastor in India with a congregation of more than 300,000 looking to build more major churches to spread the gospel in their country. And while the winter storm last weekend brought heavy snow and brutal cold that is, for some it was fun. Those stories and more today on NewsWatch.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
We'll have a look at former President Trump's dominant win in Iowa in a few moments. But first, as Israel keeps up its fight against Hamas in the Gaza Strip and Hezbollah in the north along the border with Lebanon, the country's defense minister says Israel's future depends on the outcome of this war. CBN Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl has that story.
Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant says the intensive fighting in the northern Gaza Strip has ended and will also be over soon in the city of Khan Yunis in southern Gaza. But the Israeli military will keep attacking to eliminate Hamas capabilities and return the hostages home.
The cruel enemy before us understands only force. If the fire stops, the fate of the abductees will be sealed for many years in the captivity of Hamas. Without military pressure, no one will talk to us. Without military pressure, we will not be able to reach any agreements. Only from a position of strength can the abductees be freed.
Hamas launched dozens of rockets at southern Israeli communities on Tuesday, causing some damage. Hamas marked 100 days of war by releasing videos about 3 hostages, Itai Sversky, Yossi Sharabi, and Noah Argamani, whose mother has brain cancer and recently appealed for the release of her daughter so she can see her before she dies.
26-year-old Noah Argamani was with her friends celebrating peace at the Nova Music Festival before being seized by Hamas. The image of Noah on the back of a motorcycle, surrounded by Hamas terrorists, crying out for help, shook the world.
First came a video of 3 captives, then a guessing game, followed by another video with one of the 3 hostages explaining that the other 2 were killed by Israeli fire.
Hamas is weaponizing social media as an instrument of war. Hamas wages psychological warfare to terrorize and torment the hostages, their families, and the world.
Israel says Hamas is lying about the idea of targeting the buildings where the hostages were held, but did notify the families of the 2 men that it has concerns about their well-being. Inside Israel, 2 terrorists who were working at an Israeli car wash illegally carried out multiple stabbing and car ramming attacks on Monday in the city of Ra'anana near Tel Aviv. 1 woman was killed and 17 others injured, including children in the terror attacks, as Israel's cabinet continues to debate whether or not to allow West Bank Palestinians into the country to work. On the northern front, Israel struck Hezbollah targets on Monday. Earlier, a Hezbollah rocket made a direct hit on a home in an agricultural community along the border, killing 2 Israelis. Iranian-backed groups continue to use the Gaza war as an excuse to carry out attacks in the region. Sources said the Iranian Revolutionary Guards launched ballistic missiles that hit an upscale area in Erbil, Iraq, near the U.S. consulate. 4 civilians were reportedly killed and 6 injured. Iran announced it had launched strikes against what it called an Israeli spy headquarters and the gathering of anti-Iranian terrorist groups. Earlier, Houthi rebels fired a missile at a U.S.-owned ship off the coast of Yemen less than a day after they launched an anti-ship cruise missile at an American destroyer in the Red Sea.
The Yemeni armed forces consider all American and British ships and warships participating in the aggression against our country as hostile targets.
For now, Israel's main focus remains on the war against Hamas in Gaza, with the goal of wiping out their terrorist capability to keep Israel safe in the future. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Jonathan Conricus is a former spokesman for the Israel Defense Forces and a senior fellow for the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. He joins us now from our Jerusalem bureau. Jonathan, what is your assessment of the IDF military campaign in Gaza?
What I can say is that we are in transition. The IDF has brought out and will bring out more troops in order to replenish, rest, repair, and prepare for the next stage of operations. Combat is still going on in central and southern Gaza, and the IDF is preparing for the next stages of the fighting there. But as your introduction and as the program with Julie just displayed, there are so many other fronts that need to be taken care of and so many other enemies. So the IDF is a little bit scaling down in Gaza, taking out troops in order to prepare them and have them available for other fronts and other tasks that are waiting and are in urgent need of attention.
Is there a sense the U.S. wants Israel to reduce the intensity of Israel's campaign to eliminate Hamas?
Well, we definitely saw, very strong U.S. support, material support, and we saw words and diplomatic support, which was absolutely crucial. And many in Israeli society perhaps get a sense of that there's a lot of pressure on Israel. But I think what matters most is that, the very strong bond between Jerusalem and Washington, that there's a clear understanding of what needs to be done, and that is the complete destruction of Hamas. And the U.S. government has said that repeatedly and consistently, that needs to be accomplished. And I think that there's very clear cohesion on that. Then there's perhaps deliberations between the Israeli government and the U.S. administration of how exactly that is done. We know and understand in Israel that there is a tremendous need for minimizing collateral damage and effect on civilians, and Israelis respect that and are very careful to operate accordingly. But at the end of the day, I think that the goals are aligned, there's understanding, there is strategic and diplomatic support by the U.S. for the state of Israel, which is absolutely crucial for obtaining the needs here and for defending Israeli civilians, and that, of course, is how I believe it should continue.
Jonathan, what is the situation with Hezbollah on the northern border?
It is very complex. We have more than 100,000 Israelis that are internally displaced, basically refugees in their own countries, because the border area close to the Lebanese border is simply not safe to be in. Just 2 days ago, we had 2 Israeli civilians killed by a direct hit of a Hezbollah anti-tank missile. They were in their home in one of the communities in northern Israel, and they were killed, an old mother and her son. That is how dangerous the situation is, and that is why Israeli civilians have been evacuated now for more than 100 days from their homes. That situation needs to be settled. We're currently in a stage where Israel is still holding back, only defending itself and not yet taking the initiative, not yet doing preemptive or more active measures against Hezbollah. Of course, measures that Israel can and maybe will be forced to take. But at the end of the day, Israel is still hoping for and waiting for diplomacy to deliver a riddance of Hamas from the proximity of the border. If that happens, that will save a lot of lives in Israel and in Lebanon and probably in the entire region. If it doesn't, then Israel will have to take care of these matters by the tools that Israel has available, military and other tools. And I hope that we could prevent that.
The Houthis have become a major front in the war with Israel. How do you think the U.S., UK, the international community should address their threat?
Yes, well, we're seeing the masks are coming off the Iranian octopus and their different tentacles in the region. The Houthis being perhaps the advanced guard of the Iranians in that area of the world, and it's becoming more and more difficult for anybody in the world to claim that these are not Iranian fingerprints and this isn't aggression by the Iranians. And what we're seeing now, finally, is a global response and actual actions, not only words, but actions in order to make sure that global shipping can continue to operate in the Red Sea and the Suez Canal. A lot is at stake here, and we're seeing action for the first time. I don't think it will be the last, but what I find very interesting is that there's still this for some reason, this buffer of deniability between the Houthis, which are manned, funded, guided, and instructed by the Islamic Republic of Iran, by Tehran. There's still this buffer of deniability, which I find it quite absurd, because what the Houthis are doing is at the behest of the Iranians, and the Iranians should be held accountable for their actions in the Red Sea, obstructing international shipping and being a menace to the world.
All right. Jonathan Conricus, thanks for being with us, sir. Thank you for your insights today. Coming up, a massive win for former President Trump in the Iowa caucuses, and it's by an historic margin. We're going to have that story for you when we come back.
Download the CBN News app. One place for all of your news. Breaking news alerts. Watch CBN News Channel Live. CBN News, because truth matters. Get the CBN News app today.
Welcome back to NewsWatch. A dominant night in Iowa for former President Donald Trump by an historic margin. The former president scored a decisive victory as the Iowa caucus kicked off the 2024 presidential race. CBN's Matt Gelka brings us that story.
MAGA, make America great again. And America first. America first is a very important part of MAGA.
Donald Trump celebrated a big victory in Iowa. The former president took more than 50% of the vote on caucus night. Rivals Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley were neck and neck, but finished a distant second and third. The 30-point victory sent a strong message that Trump dominates the Republican Party.
And I really think this is time now for everybody, our country, to come together. We want to come together. Whether it's Republican or Democrat or liberal or conservative, it would be so nice if we could come together.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis devoted a lot of resources to the Hawkeye state. Polls showed him fading in the run-up to the caucus, but he edged out Haley by 2 points for second with no plans to suspend the campaign.
They were predicting that we wouldn't be able to get our ticket punched here out of Iowa, but I can tell you, because of your support, in spite of all of that they threw at us, everyone against us, we've got our ticket punched out of Iowa.
Despite the third-place finish, former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley told supporters her campaign has the momentum coming out of Iowa.
I can safely say, tonight, Iowa made this Republican primary a two-person race.
The results did narrow the field. Tech businessman Vivek Ramaswamy suspended his campaign and promptly endorsed Trump.
Earlier tonight, I called Donald Trump to tell him that I congratulated him on his victory, and now going forward, he will have my full endorsement for the presidency, and I think we're going to do the right thing for this country.
Turnout was lower than past GOP contests as Iowans braved frigid temperatures to cast their votes. Multiple media organizations called the night for Trump while voting was ongoing. Trump was lifted by white evangelicals, with one CNN entrance poll showing 53% of the voting bloc backing the former president. While Trump called on his opponents to drop out of the race, they're not resting. It's on to New Hampshire with that state's primary just a week away. Matt Gelka, CBN News.
Still ahead, a megachurch pastor in India on a mission to build more major churches in their country to spread the gospel to those who need to hear it. We'll bring you a look right after this. Thanks for staying with us. Calvary Temple is India's largest church with more than 300,000 members. Pastor Satish Kumar is now on a mission to build 40 more mega churches there in the next 10 years. As George Thomas reports from Hyderabad, the pastor believes it's India's time to reach the lost with the gospel.
Most roads in Hyderabad on Sundays lead to Calvary Temple. It's a little after 4 in the morning, and side streets around the church are already jammed. as church volunteers coordinate traffic, shuttle buses, auto rickshaws, and motorcycles ferry thousands of people, all trying to get here some 2 hours ahead of Calvary's first of 5 services that begin at 6. By sunrise, the faithful have taken their seats. The main sanctuary holds 18,000 people, supported by adjacent Bethlehem Hall with 15,000, and a third structure accommodating more than 3,000. Hundreds more watching on television screens scattered around the sprawling Calvary campus. Pastor Satish Kumar preaches all 5 services, with the last one ending at 8 p.m.
I be given grace to pastor this church, which practices the Word of God, which is beyond my dream and imagination.
Calvary Temple started in 2005 with about 24 people, while today it boasts more than 300,000 members, making it this nation's biggest church and one of the largest in the world. They have 11 satellite churches with plans of more nationwide expansion.
God put a burden in my heart to establish 40 megachurches, just like what you see here, during next 10 years.
Pastor Kumar says the church adds some 3,000 new believers each month in a sign that the Lord is moving mightily across the country.
God's hand is upon India. It's a time for India to reach the lost, not only within the country, across the globe.
In addition, the church produces over 650 television programs each month in 17 of the country's major languages for broadcast on national television.
Not only within the nation, even Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Gulf countries.
Millions more follow on social media. The reason for the church's success?
Preaching the pure Word of God is what attracts people, and practicing the Word of God, what keeps people within the church.
That practical demonstration on full display here each Sunday. Narayana Podili works as a civil engineer during the week. On Sunday, he leads an army of 150 church volunteers who spend hours chopping, slicing, peeling, and stirring, all to prepare free breakfast, lunch, and dinner meals for 50,000 people.
We are committed to come here every Sunday at 3:30, 4 a.m. in the morning, and we keep working till evening.
Nagaveli Mandim has served in the Calvary kitchen for 7 years after making a promise to God that if he healed her cancerous tumor, she would serve the church in this capacity.
Because I made that promise, God healed me completely without surgery. God cleared the tumor in my chest. As a thanksgiving to him, I serve here at the Lord's house.
She and volunteers feed more than 200,000 people each month.
In India, we say service to mankind is service to God. So that is what we try to practice. We try to show God's love in action in every possible way that we find.
Calvary also has an on-campus hospital where members get free medical treatment on Sundays and medicines at reduced cost.
The majority of people who come here are poor and cannot afford the treatment.
Members also have access to church facilities to hold marriages. And when a church member passes away, Calvary handles all funeral, burial, and meal arrangements. Again, all for free.
And one of the things you do is when somebody's having a birthday,
yes,
you send them
a cake.
That's a lot of cakes.
Yes.
350,000 people.
Absolutely.
In 2007, Calvary Temple created an access card system, the first of its kind, to follow up with members and their families.
I've got thousands of people. How do I know that who hasn't showed up on Sunday? As I was praying, God put access card into my mind.
Each member must swipe their card when attending any one of the 5 Sunday services.
Without fail, if we don't show up to church, we get a call. They'll ask me why I didn't come to church, and after they find out, they will pray for me. I'm happy when I receive that call. The fact that they care for us is really special, and because of that, we will surely come to the next service.
Pastor Kumar says prayer has always been an integral part of their success. The church has held 40 days of prayer and fasting since 2005, drawing tens of thousands of young participants to stadiums around the country.
During this 40 days fasting prayers, I teach from Genesis till Revelation. Every book I try to explain. Hundreds and thousands of young kids read Bible.
Each month, the church, along with its satellite campuses, holds a night with God as members pray for revival.
About 25,000 to 30,000 people join together. That has been the biggest, largest online prayers in our nation.
In recent years, however, India has witnessed an unprecedented uptick in violence against Christians.
The more the persecution, the more the church growth. And that's what's happening in India.
Most attacks carried out by Hindu extremist groups who accuse Christians of forcibly converting people to Christianity. Pastor Kumar, a Hindu convert to Christianity himself, says resistance produces power.
It's my passion, my burden, that before I die, I want to see every Indian will hear the gospel and know the Savior.
George Thomas, CBN News, Hyderabad, India.
Coming up, having a blast in the snow. We're going to look at how some animals in a zoo are enjoying the recent winter storm when we come back. Stay with us.
Get your daily quick start from CBN News. A quick read on the important news of the day delivered right to your inbox. Stay current on breaking news, politics, and entertainment. Go to quickstart.news and subscribe today.
The dangerous winter storm that swept across the northern U.S. over the weekend brought blinding snow and bitter cold, creating no end of problems for many Americans, but not for these animals at the Brookfield Zoo in Brookfield, Illinois. Take a look. The zoo's one-year-old brown bear siblings enjoyed the snow as they played and rolled around in the icy conditions. Even Otto the river otter knew what to do when he was face-to-face with snowballs in his habitat. And two Mexican wolves made the best of the wintry conditions and took a roam in the snow. I love it when the weather is safe and you can just enjoy the snow out in your yard. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. Remember, you can find more of our news programs on the CBN News channel anytime or online with cbnnews.com. Also, tell us what you think about the stories you've seen by emailing newswatch@cbn.com. Or you can talk to us on social media. Hope you'll join us next time. Have a great day.